My name is McClellan. I'm an architect, and I'm the owner of McClellan Architecture, which at this point is a two-person architecture firm. I would like at some point to be able to make buildings that make the world a better place. Everything we build, whether it's a house or a school or a commercial building or a football stadium or whatever, everything we build, whether we're conscious of it or not, embodies our values. The most important school building and campus that I was ever around, and the one that had a lot of influence on my becoming an architect, was my high school, which was Indian Springs School, just outside Birmingham. They had actually done an incredibly intelligent thing when they laid the place out, because there were no hallways at all, either in the classroom area or in the dormitory area. Every single classroom and every dorm room opened directly to the outside. What I came to realize was the way that this place was laid out had a whole lot to do with supporting the creation of community, because the buildings themselves, first of all, they forced you outside.
Right.
And second, the way that they were arranged helped create spaces that were natural gathering places. And it was, it was a real epiphany when it occurred to me what my physical surroundings were doing to help create the community that I was enjoying so much. A building, a beautiful building, can be of any kind of style. I mean, that's all but irrelevant. But whatever it is, it ought to communicate that it's an important place to be, that society valued it enough in building it that they gave it their best, and that it's not fake. It's not made of plastic. It's not made to look fancier than it is. K through 12 was kind of all over the map.
Okay.
My dad was in the Army, and I started out schools on post, and then I went to a Catholic school for a year, and then my dad went overseas, and we moved back to Alabama, and this was in the very early 1970. We moved back there, which was the first year that meaningful integration happened there. Then we moved to Tuscaloosa when I was 9. And I went to public schools here. I went to the old Verner, which used to be down by campus. When I was in the 10th grade, I went away to school. Indian Springs was a boarding school, at least partly. I had an English teacher named R.J. Stegner, who was just a phenomenal guy. He was a sort of a curmudgeonly old guy from Pennsylvania. He had MS for several years, and he got around with 2 canes, and he had a golf cart too that he drove around campus on, but he could barely walk. And I remember almost everyone's first experience of him was a little frightening, because he would walk into the classroom, you'd get to class, and you'd be sitting there waiting, first day of class to start, and he would come walking in very slowly on his 2 canes. And everybody's first impulse was to get up, and open the door, try to help him. And he would let you know very quickly that he didn't want your help. As soon as he was sitting in his chair and ready to go, total change in demeanor. I mean, he was funny and open and a phenomenal teacher. He taught expository writing.
Okay.
And he was always telling stories and all this kind of stuff. But he was fiendishly self-reliant. And besides being a great teacher, the example he set of persevering, in the face of this, uncomplainingly. I mean, the number one guy. And then there was a history teacher there, who's still there, a guy named Bob Cooper. He was a big fan of the movie The Paper Chase, and the whole Socratic method. It wasn't so important what had happened or when, but why.
Yeah.
What was the train of events, and how did these things happen? And he was incredible. He was very demanding, never cared what assignments you had from any other class. That was totally decided. And the other guy was a man named Ray Woodard, who just died about a year ago, who was the soccer coach there and was the sort of the father of soccer in Alabama. Even when I was playing in the early to mid-'80s, we frequently traveled out of state to play, and the big schools in Birmingham were pathetic. We regularly beat them. But he was the first coach I'd ever met who was not in the old school Southern football coach, always yelling at people, sort of thing. He was very tough, and you had to really work to make the team. I never saw him humiliate anybody. He's just a really fine human being who also was a great teacher of soccer skills, which thoroughly enjoyed it. So those three were probably, and there were lots of others who were very important, but those three are the real standouts in my mind.